Good morning, YouTube Live. We're going to jump into the School of Light, read through the Bible. We're in chapter 31 of Deuteronomy, and we're going to read chapter 32. Chapter 31 is Joshua succeeding Moses. Then Moses went out and spoke these words to all of Israel. I am now 120 years old, and I'm no longer able to lead you. The Lord has said to me, you shall not cross the Jordan. The Lord your God himself will cross over ahead of you. He will destroy these nations before you and will take possession of their land. Joshua also will cross over ahead of you, as the Lord has said. And the Lord will do to them what he did to Sihon and Og, the king of the Amorites, whom he destroyed along their land. Along with their land. The Lord will deliver them to you, and you must do to them all that I have commanded you. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Then Moses summoned Joshua and said to him in the presence of all Israel, be strong and courageous, for you must go with this people into the land that the Lord swore to their forefathers to give them, and you must divide it among them as their inheritance. The Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. How many times did he say, do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. So Moses wrote down this law and gave it to the priests, the sons of Levi, who carried the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and to all the elders of Israel. Then Moses commanded them at the end of every 7 years, in the year for canceling debts, during the Feast of Tabernacles, when all of Israel comes to appear before the Lord your God at the place he will choose, you shall read this law before them in their hearing. Assemble the people, men, women, and children, and the aliens living in your towns, so they can listen and learn to fear the Lord your God and follow carefully all of his words of this law. Their children who do not know this law must hear it and learn to fear the Lord your God as long as you live in the land you are crossing the Jordan to possess. The Lord said to Moses, now the day of your death is near. Call Joshua and present yourselves at the tent of meeting where I will commission him. So Moses and Joshua came and presented themselves at the tent of meeting. Then the Lord appeared at the tent in the pillar of cloud, and the cloud stood over the entrance to the tent. The entrance to the tent, a pillar of cloud. The Lord was there. And it appeared above. I'm thinking in front and above. But I wonder if it literally means like above the doorway. And you could walk under this pillar of cloud, which the Lord was in. Or, let's see. Just curious. It's probably not the most important part of this. Assemble the people, men, women, and children. Let's see. Give it the priests and Levi. Here we go. Then the Lord appeared at the tent of meeting in a pillar of cloud, and the cloud stood over the entrance to the tent. And the Lord said to Moses, you're going to rest with your forefathers, or your fathers, and these people will soon prostitute themselves to foreign gods of the land they are entering. They will forsake me and break the covenant I made with them. On that day, I'll become angry with them and forsake them. So this conversation is going on between Moses and God. And God says, you're going to die. You're going to rest with their fathers. And these people will soon prostitute themselves to foreign gods of the land they are entering. They will forsake me and break the covenant I made with them. If I was sitting in God's place, and after everything, all the ways I showed these people I loved them, that I provided care for them, I did, I was with them, battled with them, inspired them, show them some amazing, amazing things. And the feeling in this conversation, if I was God telling Moses that you're going to rest with your father once you die, and you're going to go to heaven, you're going to go with your fathers, then these people will prostitute themselves to foreign gods of the land they are entering. They will forsake me. And break the covenant. Imagine if you were married, if whoever was leaving you forsaked you, broke the covenant, broke the marriage vows. And then God, in his passion and his wrath, a just wrath, because he is creator, says, on that day I will become angry with them and forsake them. I will hide my face from them and they will be destroyed. So you don't want me? Okay. You're going to do whatever. You're going to do what you do. You have free will. I love you. I wish you didn't. But since you don't want see my face, you won't see it. And so when he hides his face, they become destroyed. Many disasters and difficulties will come upon them. And on that day, they will ask, have not these disasters come upon us because our God is not with us? And I will certainly hide my face on that day because of all their wickedness and turning to other gods. Oh my gosh, imagine you're married and you were God and you had this spouse and they're gonna turn to other men. If you're a wife, or if you're a man, your wife's no. If you're a woman, your wife's gonna turn. No, if you're a man, you're no. If you how does it work? Yeah, if you're a woman, your husband's gonna turn to other women. Now write down for yourselves this song and teach it to the Israelites and have them sing it, so that it will be a witness for me against them. So this is like God, I want to use the husband-wife illustration. The spouse is saying, I know you're going to cheat on me and everything, but let's write it down now. So later on, it'll be a witness when I have brought them into the land with the milk and honey, the land I promised on their oath to their forefathers. And when they eat their fill and thrive, they will turn to other gods and worship them, rejecting me and breaking my covenant. So how would that look like for a husband and wife? And write these things down now so that whenever this happens, and when I'm with them, they're gonna thrive. Everything's gonna be good. But then they're gonna leave me. They're going to find another woman, and they're gonna go have babies with them, or another man. Hey, your wife's gonna go have babies with another man. That's what God's talking about: rejecting me and breaking my covenant, rejecting you spouse and breaking. If you were the spouse, rejecting the spouse, whoever it is, male or female, and breaking the covenant. Breaking the covenant, it would be breaking the vows, this promise, contract, covenant. It's such a misunderstood word because it's almost a religious word nowadays. But if you buy a house and you sign a contract, that is a covenant between you and the mortgage company. Or if you're buying it between you, the seller, and the mortgage company, or whatever. If you're buying, if you're leasing land, or you're a sharecropper, or whatever, you go into a covenant. If you don't fulfill like if I sold a piece of property, and the terms were that this person's supposed to pay me X amount per month, and they missed those terms, you break the covenant. There's consequences for breaking the covenant, especially marriage, where it's an intimate covenant. It's not like just business. It's an intimate, daily, in and out life affecting you type of covenant. And this is how God's feeling. I can't imagine being him, knowing that you love these people. You do all kinds of amazing things for them. Your thoughts are always on them. And they whine, they complain, they reject you. Even to the point of leaving you for other men, other women, in God's case, other gods. And so whenever you break this covenant, and many disasters and difficulties come upon them or you, this song will testify against them, because it will not be forgotten by their descendants. I know what they are disposed to do. Even before I bring them into the land, I promised them an oath. He knows what's going to happen. God's God. Jesus is Jesus. That's why Jesus could raise people from the dead, touch eyes, and bring light to them. Bring hearing to the deaf, and just leprosy, clean people. I mean, that's why God's God, because he knows. He says right here, I know what they are disposed to do. I know what their inclination is. I know these guys. Even before I bring them into the land, I promise them on oath. So I'm fulfilling my promise. I promised you I'm going to bring you to this land. God's saying, I know you're going to cheat on me, right? I know you're going to have an adultery relationship. But because I promised to bring you this far, I'm bringing you this far. I promise on oath to you. So God's fulfilling what he's fulfilling, or what he promised he would fulfill. In other words, if you're married and your husband says, you know what, I'm going to go and get 3 days worth of wood, and what else would be another example? 3 days worth of wood. And you go out and you get those 3 days worth of wood, you fulfill what you promised. If you didn't, then you did not fulfill. Well, God is not a man that he should lie, nor a son of man that he should change his mind. Does he speak and not act? Does he promise and not fulfill? After Moses finished, or correction. So he knows what they're going to do even before they do it. Moses wrote down this song that day and taught it to the Israelites. The Lord gave this command to Joshua the son of Nun: be strong and courageous, for you will bring the Israelites into the land I promised them on oath, and I myself will be with you. After Moses finished writing in a book the words of this law, from beginning to end, he gave this command to the Levites who carried the ark of the covenant of the Lord. Take this book of the law and place it beside the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God. There it will remain as a witness against you. For I know how rebellious and stiff-necked you are. If you have been rebellious against the Lord while I am still alive and am with you, how much more will you rebel after I die? Assemble before me all the elders of your tribes and all of your officials, so that I can speak these words in their hearing and call heaven and earth to testify against them. For I know that after my death you are sure to become utterly corrupt and to turn from the way I have commanded you. In days to come, disaster will fall upon you, because you will do evil in the sight of the Lord and provoke him to anger by what your hands have made. And Moses recited the words of the song from beginning to end in the hearing of the whole assembly of Israel. And this is chapter 32. Listen, O heavens, and I will speak. Hear, O earth, the words of my mouth. Let my teaching fall like rain and my words descend like dew. Like showers on the new grass, like abundant rain on tender plants, I'll proclaim the name of the Lord. Oh, praise the greatness of our God. He is the rock. His works are perfect, and all his ways are just. A faithful God who does no wrong, upright and just is he. They have acted corruptly toward him, To their shame, they are no longer his children, but are warped and crooked generation. Is this the way you repay the Lord, O foolish and unwise people? Is he not your father, your creator, who made you and formed you? Remember the days of old. Consider the generations long past. Ask your father, and he will tell you, your elders, and they will explain to you. When the Most High gave the nations their inheritance, when he divided all mankind, he set up boundaries for the peoples according to the number of the sons of Israel. For the Lord's portion is the peoples, Jacob his allotted inheritance. In a desert land he found, in a barren and howling waste, he shielded him and cared for him. He guarded him as the apple of his eye. And like an eagle that stirs up his nest and hovers over its young, that spreads its wing to catch them and carries them on its pinions, the Lord alone led him. No foreign god was with him. He made him ride on the heights of the land, and he fed him with the fruit of the fields. He nourished him with the honey from the rock, with oil from the flinty crag, with curds and milk from the herd and flock, and with fattened lambs and goats, with choice rams of Bashan, and the finest kernels of wheat. You drank the foaming blood of the grape. Jeshurun grew fat and kicked, filled with food. He became heavy and sleek. He abandoned the God who made him and rejected the rock, his savior. I put a little note here. Foolish guy. Don't get fat. How do I say that? I say, well, Sephirina, if you start having unbefore, or how do I want to say it? A unbefore experienced type of prosperity, financially, usually is the one that kicks people off of kilter. If you're having an unusual amount of prosperity, spiritually, you're good. Health, you're good. Relationships, you're good. Financially, you have to have discipline. Otherwise, like this guy, you could just become filled with food, become heavy and sleek, and abandon God, and reject the rocky Savior. They made him jealous with their foreign gods, and angered God with their detestable idols. They sacrificed to demons which are not God, gods they had not known, gods that recently appeared, gods your fathers did not fear. You deserted the rock who fathered you. Rock. You forgot the God who gave you birth. Wow, 32 is long. The Lord saw this and rejected them because he was angered by his sons and daughters. I will hide my face from them, he said, and see what their end will be, for they are a perverse generation, children who are unfaithful. This is a song. They made me jealous by what is no God, and angered me with their worthless idols. I will make them envious by those who are not people. I will make them angry by a nation that has no understanding. For a fire has been kindled by my wrath, one that burns to the realm of death below. It will devour the earth and its harvest, and set afire the foundations of the mountains. I will heap calamities upon them and spin my arrows against them. I will send wasting famine against them, consuming pestilence and deadly plague. I will send them the fangs of wild beasts, the venom of vipers that glide in the dust. In the street, the sword will make them childless. In their homes, terror will reign. Young men and young women will perish, infants and gray-haired men. I said I would scatter them and blot out their memory from mankind. But I dreaded the taunt of the enemy, lest the adversary misunderstand and say, our hand has triumphed. The Lord has done all this. They are a nation without sense. There is no discernment in them. If only we were wise and would understand this and discern what their end will be. How could one man chase 1,000 or two put 10,000 to flight, unless the rock had sold them, unless the Lord has given them up. For the rock is not like our rock, and even our enemies concede. Their vine comes from the vine of Sodom, and from the fields of Gomorrah. Their grapes are filled with poison, and their clusters with bitterness. Their wine is the venom of serpents, and the deadly poison of cobras. Have I not kept this in reserve, and sealed it in my vaults? It is mine to avenge, I will repay. In due time their foot will slip, their day of disaster is near, and their doom rushes upon them. The Lord will judge his people and have compassion on his servants. When he sees the strength is gone and no one is left, slave or free, he will say, now where is their gods, the rock they took refuge in? The gods who ate the fat of their sacrifices and drank the wine of their drink offerings. Let them rise up to help you. Let them give you shelter. See now that I myself am he. There is no God beside me. I put to death and I bring to life. I wound and I heal, and no one can deliver out of my hand. I lift my hand to heaven and I declare, as surely as I live forever, when I sharpen my flashing sword and my hand grasp it in judgment, I will take vengeance on my adversaries and repay those who hate me. I will make my arrows drunk with blood, while my sword devours flesh. The blood of the slain and the captives, the heads of the enemy leaders. Rejoice, O nations, with his people, for he will avenge the blood of his servants. He will take vengeance on his enemies and make atonement for his land and people. Moses came with Joshua, son of Nun, and spoke all the words of this song in the hearing of the people. When Moses finished reciting all these words to all of Israel, he said to them, take to heart all the words I have solemnly declared to you this day, so that you might command your children to obey carefully all the words of this law. They are not just idle words for you, they are your life. By them you will live long in the land you are crossing the Jordan to possess. On that same day, the Lord told Moses, go up into Abarim range to Mount Nebo in Moab, across from Jericho, and view Canaan, the land I am giving the Israelites as their own possession. There on the mountains that you have climbed, you will die, and you will be gathered to your people, just as your brother Aaron died on Mount Hor and was gathered to his people. This is because both of you broke faith with me in the presence of the Israelites at the waters of Meribah Kadesh in the desert of Zin, and because you did not uphold my holiness among the Israelites. Therefore, you will see the land only from a distance. You will not enter the land I am giving to the people of Israel. That's the end of chapter 32 in Deuteronomy.